Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. And today I'm going to show you guys how to restore the steering wheel controls on your BMW steering wheel. This is specifically a non-sport steering wheel off of an E70 X5. I just upgraded to a sport steering wheel, so you can look out for that video on my channel if that interests you. But I want to either sell this or just have it be in better condition for the future, and also to make a DIY video for you guys. So once before, I actually, with the steering wheel on the car, I put some grease on these buttons, and I taped off whatever I could and tried to Plasti Dip it. I peeled off all the factory rubber that was starting to bubble up and deteriorate, and it didn't really hold up because I wasn't able to get around all these edges properly, so that there was a bit of a line here and it would just roll back with use. So now I'm going to strip this off and actually take it apart and show you guys how to take it apart if you want to, and actually get around all angles so that it won't lift up like this here. Get around it from every spot. Isolate this plastic piece in case you guys want to try restoring these with Plasti Dip. Now, this is going to involve you removing, you don't necessarily have to remove the wheel from your car, but you're going to have to pop the airbag out. I've already upgraded to the sport wheel and took the innards from this, but I'll show you what's involved. It'll give you guys an idea if you want to try to tackle restoring these, because they're a few $100, and you know, you can make them look decent again with Plasti Dip, and it won't wear out like this. It's not like they can't handle constant rubbing. That's not the issue. It's just when you don't take them off, if you can't get the Plasti Dip right into this corner here, it's just going to start rolling back. You got to get it from all angles. So let's go ahead and start disassembling. Okay, so now we're assuming this is still on the car, and you want to get this airbag cover off and get these controls off, or potentially remove the wheel and go at it thoroughly like I'm going to do here. Watch my video where I upgrade from this wheel to a sport steering wheel. It shows how to get it off the car and get it into this position. So once you're at that point, we're continuing on as if you've removed it from the car, or you have gotten the airbag popped off so you can get at these controls. So for me, I've already popped it off. Obviously there's nothing left inside here. I've taken the guts out of this and moved it to a sport wheel. Now we want to be able to pop these off. To do so, we got to flip the wheel over, and you'll see the two screws that got to be removed, and these guys are T20s. So two screws, flip it over, drop those screws out. Now, to get these controls out, you're going to want to get your hand down underneath of it and pry up. And go gently, but they just pop off. They just kind of insert into these holes here with just a rubber snug fit. Same story here. Now you're going to want to take this harness. This is a heated steering wheel, so it has this piece here kind of covering the harness, and there's a connection right here. So if you don't have a heated steering wheel, it may be a little different, but you'll just have less things to disconnect. So now we can get the wheel out of the way and focus just on the controls themselves. Now what we want to do is flip them over and get yourself a pick tool. Doesn't really matter where you start from, but basically there's these tabs here that you want to undo. One right here, one right here. Lift up on it and just go around it until you get it to pop out of the shell, like so. And then you'll be left with this, and then this piece here. Now you want to be conscious of these little pieces here. They they go into here. And then you have the control itself. You may find that it got a little sticky or gummy. This piece here, if the buttons are sticky or gummy, you can take this and wash it and let it dry off before you put it back. So we'll leave that off to the side. We'll go after the other control now. Okay. Now, don't freak out if you hear some stuff rattling around and whatnot. It's just these white plastic pieces that go into the controls. So now I have this rubber piece again. Underneath should be clean, but if this is sticky because maybe you had some sticky hands and got something on there, or you spilled something on your wheel, you want to rinse that off. But we can take all the electronics out of our way now. And we're just focusing on the actual controls now. Now when you flip it over, like I said, these things are going to fall off. Let them fall out. That's fine. Same story there. There's two per. Now the actual buttons themselves, on my car, these are actually really sticky and gummy and they wouldn't retract properly. So they're holding themselves into position. But if you look on the back side, you just basically push them through, guide them out. Like so. Removed. Now we're left with this staying in place. We'll deal with that in a second. I'm going to push this through. And around the edges is dirty and sticky. I'm going to rinse these off so that they don't bind up. Those are all our control buttons removed. To get this piece out here, what you need to do is put your pick in here and actually push outward and down. You want to go outward. I'll show you when I have it out of the actual piece here. So you gotta get inside here, outward. And you want to be a little gentle with these because they're not that strong. But I've gotten one side to pop out, but I've yet to get this side to pop out. So you want to focus on that a little more. There, ready to pop off. So there's that. And here's the actual control. So these don't wear out, luckily. They're not like Mercedes where this is rubberized and they just wear right through. But this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to push this out of the way and down, out of the way and down, so these would pop out. So that's one side. Other side, same story. Alright, there you go. Now this guy's removed too. And all these buttons are a little dirty, so we're going to rinse those off before we proceed. But now we're left with just the plastic pieces. The problematic areas. Even when I plasti dipped it, I couldn't get in this area. Right here, this is the factory rubber because it was covered by the airbag. So I want to remove as much as I can. Even when I did this with my stock rubberized coating from the factory, I rolled it back like this. I just kept at it. It took a while, and I did this on the car last time. But it's not hard to do. If it's already starting to wear on your car, it'll come right off. Even the factory stuff isn't very robust. You may just want to even remove it all and just put it back in, just in this form. That may be your goal, I'm not sure. Less maintenance that way. So I'm just going after it, peeling off all the factory, all the Plasti Dip, as well as anything that was factory that on the edge that was still covered up by the airbag. You just gotta roll it off. The reason this stuff started to peel up is because I couldn't really get it from all angles so that it would have something to grip on to. So I'm going to go on to the next one, but what I'll do is I'll get a damp towel and just rub that aggressively with a microfiber that will peel off anything remaining, including any factory stuff. This is an example of the factory stuff on the edge here. It still comes off. It's just a little different feeling than Plasti Dip. So hopefully you get the idea. I'm going to go take these over to my sink and run them under some hot water just to soften things up and also clean up the last of this. And then I'm gonna take those controls over, rinse them off, get them all clean, let them air dry while we paint these. So this is basically what I'm doing. I got a microfiber towel just so it can really grip in and grab every loose particle. And I got some pretty hot water. Not boiling hot, but rather hot. It really softens things up and lets you get every last little piece. Even the factory stuff just comes right off with this. And you'll start to feel when it starts to stop grabbing as much. That's how you know you're really getting everything. Go around all the edges. And it starts to look very even. And really this could be good for some people, just literally dry it off. If you're not going for 100%, that's half decent, you know, it gets rid of most of it. As you can see, you can just make out some discoloration. That could be factory stuff that's really stubborn. I can try really scrubbing that, see if you can get rid of it. As you can see, it looks like it's come off. And it's getting better. So that's going to be ready for paint once it dries. It doesn't have to be spotless. You won't notice any of this. It's going to evenly cover that. Now we'll bring our other controls over. They look a lot better. They're all clean now. Let those air dry, and we'll examine our work here to see if anything additional needs to be done. That's ready for Plasti Dip. You won't see all this. It's just literally a microscopic layer. It's really hard to make these look all even and nice because from the factory the plastic's not perfect. But here's an example of one that still needs some intense scrubbing. I'll let those dry and we'll come back. As you can see, this is everything we removed. It's quite a bit. So I'm just going by feel and I found one small little piece. If you can't feel it, then you won't be able to see it when you spray it with Plasti Dip. And I can feel that. There you go, they're both ready for paint now. So I got a couple small soda cans that I can lay these on top of to ensure I get it from all angles. So I shook the Plasti Dip. I'm just using regular black Plasti Dip now. Just spray here. Make sure it's not clogged. And let's start. We'll let that first layer dry and then we'll go for the next coat. It's been about 20 minutes or so and they're already starting to look really good. Just with one light coat. I want to get about 3 or 4 coats on there. With about 20-minute spacing in between. But that's why you always purge your can. You gotta wipe this down. It got all fouled sitting. So I had to purge a can. because it gets fouled up when it sits. You know, Plasti Dip is very forgiving, luckily, so you don't have to be a pro or anything like that, and it looks terrible when you lay it on, but when it dries, it looks great. I may leave it, that was a pretty thick, heavy coat. I may leave it, just so I don't make the diameter of those holes in the switches too tight, where it starts to bind up with the controls. So we'll let that dry and see how it looks. It's been about 10 minutes since that last coat. We have a perfect satin finish on them. Look really good. So I'll let these dry for a little while longer, and I'm going to call it good after this. I don't want them to get too much more on there, because then they'll get too thick and it may be hard to put the buttons back in place. But as you can see, huge improvement, and it was very simple to get here. I'm happy with that. So once these dry for a little while longer, I will come back and we'll put the steering wheel back together. So I brought them in the house now. They've had a good hour or so to dry. A good way to tell if they're ready to handle yet is if they smell at all, like solvent. These are they feel pretty good now. So let's start reassembling. Just handle with care unless you're going to let them dry for like overnight, just to be sure. So they look really good. I'm happy with the results. We're going to start by identifying what button needs to go where. So we'll start by snapping in our volume control button here. It still rocks back and forth, no problem. It's not binding up against the side. Now we'll flip it over, and we got to install the voice button. Telephone button. They have free range of motion. Now you take these little things here. They remind me of that game Operation. Those little pieces, the bones. Set them in there, and we'll assemble the other side now. So heated steering wheel button. They all fit in there nicely, no issues. Let's reinstall the next track button. Good there. Flip it over and insert these little pieces here. Now we're going to bring our controls over. Get our controls and replace the rubber. Make sure they're dry before you do this. Just lay them down. And basically, be careful, like you don't want to, you gotta leave it in the down position. And to insert, you start from the bottom. And clip it into place. They feel really nice and clicky. They look good. Same story here. Start from the bottom. And they'll click into place. Test the buttons. They feel brand new. No issues at all. Very clicky. Basically like brand new. And they look pretty much perfect. So we'll reinstall them in the wheel now. I gave the wheel a coat of conditioner and cleaning. So it's looking great. I'm going to bring these into position, and you know, I'm being extra gentle just because it hasn't been 24 hours since I've done this work. So I don't want to nick them up until they have a proper chance to cure. So we'll reinstall the heated element, tuck it into position, and now we can insert this. We're good to go there. Bring this over. Looks perfect. This harness goes here. That connects to the car. This plugs in here. And this harness here, you want to get it underneath. It kind of folds over itself, like such, and lives underneath this cover here. This cover tucks into this section here. That clips into position. This harness tucks in over here. And that's about it. Now we'll flip over and restore these screws. Let's flip it back over. And just to give you an idea, I'll just lay this in position. See what kind of outcome we got. As you can see, nearly, like, it's pretty much flawless. It's perfect. And the idea, now that I've taken this apart and properly disassembled it, when you roll your fingers around here, or where you get underneath here, the edge of this is wrapped around. So the coating is wrapped around all corners, around all the buttons. So it's not going to wear out. It should last. It should hold up for quite a while. All the way around is protected. And the job is 9.5 out of 10 to 10 in my opinion. It literally looks factory fresh, perfect. The buttons have plenty of extra clicky, they sound good, they feel proper. They're springy, they respond. It's just like OEM. Like a brand new OEM wheel, because we cleaned out any gunk or anything in there. So that's what this video is about, showing you how to restore your steering wheel controls on your BMW steering wheel. You should be able to follow this guide for many generation BMWs, going back quite a ways. This should apply to a number of chassis and get yourself a nearly perfect outcome in a few more years out of your factory controls. So thanks for watching and good luck.